Ralghia the Witch, Chapter 6, Part 2, The Forest Maiden. The questions, however, kept coming. "Why do witches ride brooms, Mother?" "What a strange question! Why do you ask?" "Please, Mother, tell me." "Very well. The story of witches riding brooms is spread by people who are not witches, by people who do not understand what witches are. In ancient times, women lived in harmony with nature, and nature gave them power, letting the women in on secrets it would not share with men. For example, trees, rooted to the ground as they are, nonetheless know the secrets of flight. Look around you. These trees stand more than 100 feet tall, and yet water reaches the leaves and the topmost branches. How do you think the water gets there? "The leaves absorb the water when it rains?" "No, my child. True, some plants can absorb what they need from the air and don't rely on roots. These are called epiphytes. Others, such as mistletoe, are parasites that steal their nutrients from the trees that host them. But as for the trees themselves, they carry their water up from the roots to the top of the tree, several hundred feet in the air, defying gravity every step of the way. Not even the greatest of men have figured out how. But then again, these are only men. What trees do not share with them, they gladly impart to women who are in harmony with nature. And now I share this secret with you." Morionna leaned forward. "Trees, from time immemorial, have provided cover, habitat, and even food for birds, and the birds return the favor by telling the trees the secret of flight, of making things weigh less than the air that surrounds them. The trees use this knowledge to lighten the water they need, using methods that the languages of men have not yet created words to describe. Although such words do not exist, it is instinctive, and a woman who masters tree magic will easily understand the secret of flight. To that end, a skilled witch will earn the trust of a tree, and with the tree's permission, she will harvest a branch. With that branch come the secrets that nature hides from men. As long as the branch is strong enough to support her weight, a witch can fly. And in rare cases, if the witch is skilled enough and her pact with nature is strong enough, eventually she won't need the branch. She can soar through the air on her own power. The connection between witches and trees was such that most witches would set the branch in a place of honor in the house. But this proved to be their undoing a few centuries ago, when a plague struck the land and suspicion fell on these women. Men had long been wary of witches, and now they felt their worst fears were proved true. In those times, women were put to death on the mere suspicion of being a witch, and as everyone knew by now, a branch prominently displayed in a home was a sure way to find one. Only a talented few could fly without a branch. What could the rest do? Give up flying altogether, greatly curtailing their freedom, mobility, and ability to travel to find customers. Or a woman could discard the branch after each use, selecting a new one for each trip. But that wouldn't work, for such a woman would destroy the trees for her own needs, and this would violate the pact. That's when witches began using brooms, for in those days, a broom was little more than an unadorned branch with broom sedge attached at one end. Since every house had a broom, a witch had little to fear from being seen with one. The times of fear and darkness gradually receded, and witches were once again free to pursue their craft. But the damage had already done, as so many women were lost and so much knowledge had died with them. Thus, when women were finally free to learn what it was to be a witch, they had few sources of original information. All they knew was that witches rode on brooms. So this generation of women went into town to buy broomsticks without ever questioning why. Ralghia sneered. They also used wands. Again, they turned to a piece of wood as a source of power. But they never bothered to understand the wood or the source of that power. They just bought something. Of course, the wand came into being because one man chopped down a tree without permission, then sold the wood to another man who never met the original tree, while a third turned the wood on a lathe to make it look pretty. It is amusing to watch these witches at work. They somehow fly in a bumbling fashion, then wonder why they can't soar the way they imagine witches should. Or they wave their wands about, thinking this creates power, yet failing all the while. They do not understand the craft, while the few true guardians keep it a secret. For once such a fact becomes commonly known, the rest of us face competition from mere infants. To you, however, I tell everything, for I have designated you as my successor. In time, you will inherit my lands, my wealth, and my secrets. You need never trouble yourself with such falsehoods. And how did you ever come to hear about brooms, anyway? I don't know. It must have been carried to me on the winds, Morionna answered. I see, Ralghia said, even though she didn't see at all. All this talk of flying gave Ralghia a new idea. She asked permission from a tree and harvested a branch just the right size for her daughter. And together they practiced flying. On her first try, Morionna was able to hover 2 feet above the ground for a few minutes. On her next few tries, she didn't last as long, and she was lucky if she could rise more than half a foot. Over the next few days, she couldn't hover at all. It was frustrating for both of them. Ralghia was not ready to give up. She invited Morionna to stay at her castle over the winter so she could see the craft firsthand. Morionna was amazed and inspired by everything she saw. The room of stripes, the wall of arms and legs, and the pool of visions. She danced with the alabaster beauties, touched the darkness that could be felt, and tried the door of tomorrows several times, always coming out in a new place. Also, that now that Morionna was old enough to meet men for the first time, Ralghia took her to visit the village below the castle. This was a great treat for Morionna because everyone was kind to her. The people in the village greeted them both, and Ralghia proudly introduced her daughter to everyone as her successor. It was a wonderful time, but even so, Morionna noticed something odd about the village. The butcher, the blacksmith, the baker, all of them were strong and capable. And all of them were women. There aren't that many men here, are there? Morionna asked. No, my child. Any man who wishes to live here must abide by the rules of the village. Few men wish to be governed by women, so the men who do choose to live here are greatly outnumbered. Of course, the men who stay find there is a wonderful advantage to being greatly outnumbered by women. An advantage? And what is the advantage, Mother? Ralghia chuckled. You'll find out soon enough. Morionna didn't have time to wonder about that, because all throughout the winter, Ralghia kept her busy showing off some of her best spells. She turned gold into fire and black again. She made the very stones of her castle sing their songs, and she even cast a spell on the clouds so they would assume the shape of whatever animal Morionna wished to see. All this was delightful to the young woman's eyes. But when she returned to the forest several months later, she was no closer to learning the craft than when she started. A year passed as Morionna continued her training without showing any signs of improvement, until finally Ralghia came to the forest to kill her. Ralghia transported herself to the cottage and stood calmly outside as the black fire welled up within her and poured out of her eyes and fingertips. When Morionna came rushing outside, she gasped in horror. Mother, what is this? I have lost faith in you, my child. You shall die here today. But, Mother, why? You do not need to know why. I have decided you are useless to me, and that is enough. Mother, your life was forfeit the very day your parents abandoned you, and now I will kill you. Use what little time you have left to prepare yourself." "No, you can't!" Ralghia raised her arm, and the black fire surged from her fingertips, ready to strike. Morionna fell to her knees. "Please, please," she begged. "Die here!" Arrows of the black fire shot toward Morionna, but rather than piercing her chest, they bounced off, as if striking a wall between them. Ralghia smiled despite herself. "So, it would seem you do have powers." In that instant, the veil of deception fell from Morionna's eyes. "Yes," she sneered, "I would have liked the charade to go on much longer. That way I could have had time to experience more of your power and make it my own. But no matter, I shall have the rest of it once I cut your body in half and eat your liver. Your ambition is impressive, but why did you not let me give my power to you?" Ralghia asked as she summoned more of the black fire. "Surely you knew I would have held nothing back." "And what was I supposed to wait for? To hold out until you die? When you have been on this earth for so long and have no intention of leaving it? When you grow stronger with every passing day instead of weaker? Must I spend my best years abandoned in the woods? How long must you force me to be your faithful, dependent daughter?" She called out to the trees, and in an instant they grew new branches that twisted their way toward Ralghia, ready to strike. They waved as if blown by a strong wind, but there was no wind. "You wanted me to learn? Well, I did. You may as well give up, Ralghia. The trees are on my side right now." "So, you've mastered tree magic. Doubly impressive. How did you manage to hide this from me?" "I used a self-memory charm. You were the trigger. Any time you were present, I would forget I had any power and forget my hatred for you. I would truly become the dutiful, untalented daughter you believed me to be. But the minute you left, my memory and my true feelings returned. And each time you left, I came into new powers and greater abilities. That is how I am able to do this." In an instant, the branches snared Ralghia. They encircled her body and tightened, trying to crush the life out of her. Morionna laughed. "Now that you have tried to take my life, I am freed from the prison of liking you. You will die at the hands of my trees. You should be proud of me." "Why are you doing this?" Ralghia gasped as the trees tightened their grip. I've always loved you." "You never loved me. You abandoned me in the woods and let the animals raise me. Yes, I had milk, but it never came from you. And your fondest wish was that I should turn into a thing like you. Well, you succeeded. How do you like that, Mother?" The branches squeezed tighter around Ralghia's neck. The branches crushed her rib cage. "It's no use struggling, Mother. Once you die, your power flows to me. A fitting end to a pathetic thing like you." Morionna laughed even louder. More branches grew, but they turned on Morionna and impaled her where she stood. Morionna gasped in horror as black flowers blossomed from the tips of the branches sticking out of her chest. "But how? The branches are on my side." "The trees may be on your side, but the black fire is on mine," Ralghia answered as the trees loosened her grip on her. "While you were busy gloating, I sent the black fire into all the trees around us, and they are powerless to resist. You've lost, Morionna." Morionna screamed, and her shrill call summoned the owls and hawks to attack. Ralghia cut them down with her eyes. "Tree magic and bird calls? Is that all you can do? You'll never defeat me like that." Ralghia raised the black fire until it formed a blaze that took up the whole clearing. "The amazing thing is I never suspected you, my child. Not even my witch's eye saw through your deception. I should have known the day you asked about brooms. Only a human could have told you such a tale, meaning you had contact with the outside world I had forbidden. How could I have missed that?" It would seem I have powers you don't know about. Perhaps, but if I can be defeated by a little girl, then I don't deserve to live anyway. Ralghia waved her hand, and the branches released Morionna. The girl clutched at her chest as the branches hovered nearby, waiting to strike. One of us dies tonight, daughter dear. Show me what you've got! End part 2. Part 3 will be in 6 days.